Once again, everyone, thanks for getting together with us today. It really is good to see people again. Even though it's only been, 6 weeks we've been shut down or whatever it is, it seems like it's been forever. And for some of you, I know it's been longer that you've been in the shop, and we all miss it. It was great to talk to many of you this week. I talked to most of you at one point or another. Not all, but most of you. And almost all of you said, I just can't wait to get back to the shop. Can't wait to go back and see my friends and get back involved. And of course, we all hope for things to go back to normal. That's only hope right now. That's only aspiration. It's not where we're actually at. We still have a ways to go to be back to full strength. Just because the governor opens things up doesn't mean it's safe. It just means things are looking up, and we know that. We don't. We shouldn't take any false belief that things are safe again and that we can go back to normal operations. We can't. It's just not that situation. But the really encouraging news is that most of you I talked to. Thankfully, many of us, that's kind of a mixed blessing, I guess. But the one good thing about being in our age group, most of us are eligible to get the shot. And most of us either have got it or soon will. And I think that's just wonderful. Let's take just a moment, just see who, let's see here. Let me get the reaction thing. By a thumbs up, just use the thumbs up down the lower right hand of your screen. Give me a thumbs up if you've either got your shot or you soon will get your shot.
Lower right, what do you mean? I got my first one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's about what I saw. And then we had that like Nancy and Paul that are too young to get the shots, but those of us who can it looks like they're becoming available pretty rapidly. I don't think anybody, I don't think anybody's got both shots and full immunity yet, but full strength of their protection. But that's on the way, and that's encouraging. So let's just talk a little bit about the shop reopening, and we've got a number of other things we'd like to talk about, and I'm sure you have a few things you'd like to discuss. But I'd like to just talk about the shop reopening. First of all, as we're reopening, let's continue to use great care, just as we've done before, but even double our efforts to make sure we comply with all the things we know help keep people safe. And let's don't allow anybody to violate that. Continue with the same discipline we've had before of doing our cleaning, doing everything we can to keep the social distancing, and just an absolute that we have those masks on, that they're appropriate masks and that they're properly worn. All the experts we're hearing, at least I'm hearing, say that's by far the most important thing is the distancing, keeping the masks and using an appropriate mask and using it properly and to keep the distance is the things that help us the most. And then of course the other things of the sanitation, washing hands, all those other items are also important, but by far the most important thing is that the distancing, masks, and a tertiary thing is the ventilation, getting the best ventilation we can get. And we know how to do that. We've been doing it for a long time, and we just need to redouble our efforts as we reopen. I'm sure you saw it from the message before. We're going to open Saturday. Oiling's got the first shift. I see it's already full Saturday morning. We will reopen with only 3 in the main shop or in the machine room, 1 on CNC and 1 in the laser, and 1 shift supervisor. And we want to reemphasize, we don't want people dropping in, running through the shop, coming and doing things to where we get additional people in the shop and additional chances for contact and reduce social distancing. So You know, don't drop in at the shop just because they don't. You know, Rick and I and Gary and others often have to go in there where we're going to make sure that we go in during off hours and when we wouldn't have normal shift operations, just to keep that load down. We do know that there is some marginal improvement within the county, and that we see that data. We know that the hospitalization rate's down just a little bit, but it's not back to where we were at even last spring when we were shut down. It's not like we can let our guard down at all. Now, I personally think, and I wouldn't be a part of reopening if I didn't think we could do this safely. And I think it's a risk, but a very reasonable risk, that if we comply with our instructions, that, at least in my opinion, it can be done. And that's what I found from talking to most of you. But that's a personal decision. I want to reemphasize that for anybody that I didn't talk to on the phone. If you are not comfortable coming into the shop, or you think that's not the right thing for you to do, or you think that that would in any way put yourself, your family, your friends, or anybody in the shop at risk, and you don't want to be a part of that, just let us know. That I fully appreciate, fully understand. I respect that decision. And I don't want anybody to feel at all pressure to come in if you're not at all comfortable. If we have a situation where we can't cover a shift, we'll just shut down that shift. This is woodworking. This is not life or death. This is not something that can't be postponed. So we just need to keep our passion and our desire to have the shop operating to be in the perspective, and keep the right set of priorities for us. For me, I'm going to be teaching a class, and I'm going to be doing my shifts. And for many of you that you said the same thing. There's some that said that they did not want to do that. That's great. You know, I fully understand and appreciate that situation. And I want to convey to you just repeatedly that I do not want you to feel pressure to come back if you're not, if it's your assessment that that's not right for you and your family. That's got to be the most important thing. That being said, I'm going to stop for just a second and see what questions you have, and then we'll go on with a few more things. Anybody have anything they want to raise on that, or any questions or concerns?
Yes, Dallas. Here, Edward speaking. What I found before we shut down, that was what I thought the main issue was, that when people had questions, because so noisy, like we had to get so close to each other to be able to hear each other. And I was wondering if we can maybe like have some kind of protocol that if people have questions that we step outside, or something, so we can like have some distance between us without all the noise behind, and so we can hear each other at 6 feet away, instead of getting 2 feet from each other and facing each other to try to talk above the noise of the vacuum and all the machines and all that.
So how would that operate? We just, if you want to have a question, we just kind of point to the door or something, and
yeah. But also, I don't know if we can, when we announce, you know, to everyone else that the shop is going to be open, that we put some kind of protocol that if you have questions, just ask the supervisor to step outside for a second or something like that. I'm not sure what is the correct, or, you know, I'm just kind of suggesting that, but I don't know what really would work best.
Trying to think of how that'd operate. I do appreciate the issue though, because it is difficult to hear, and you're talking through a mask, and the tendency is you get closer to so the other person can hear.
Dallas, we had a couple of solutions. Just let me redo them. This is John again. One was exactly what you're talking about. Step outside either the classroom or literally outside, you know, the garage door or something. Or we did find that we could have the shift supervisor sort of stop operations a little bit, at least shut down the house dust collector. And then they could be at the machine, because that was always an issue. Sometimes the questions were, how do I do it here? And the shift supervisor had to be close enough to actually guide them or show them. And so both solutions sort of worked before, but Dallas, if you've got any thoughts?
Well, I'd hate to have to stop everybody else from working because one person has a question.
Well, we've got a limited number of people in the shop. And what we found was a lot of times people didn't have machines going. So it was okay to stop it. But that's a situational thing. So.
Okay, well, I think that's both are interesting ways to do it. I personally have been stepping outside or stepping into the classroom where we could close the door. At least you could stay a little bit further back. With the weather, you know, we're not opening up in the middle of summer like we did last time. So it's not like we have the same weather situation. But I like Edward's solutions of stepping outside. And if we only have one person using a dust collector, I could see where you could shut that off and talk too. So, Edward, what would we need to do to implement that? What would you see? Edward?
Yes.
What are you suggesting we do? Is that just something the shift supervisor would?
Yeah, I don't know if to make some kind of a general protocol or just have this the supervisor just kind of point toward the door and then for both people to step outside. You know, there is that issue of like when they want to know something about the machine or something like that then you can't just step outside, right?
Yeah, that's when John's suggestion might be the way to do it. Well, I find that it's very difficult to educate 375 members. It's hard enough.
I can relate to that.
Keeping 25 shift supervisors all up to speed is hard enough. So how about we just use that as our own tactics as we're running the shop? We just point outside and just say, let's go out there or in the classroom and do it from there. Or if you don't have other machines being running, then cut down the dust collector and do it from the floor.
Okay.
I'll add it to the update too, and I put it out on the announcement. It's an excellent point. I like the idea.
Yes. Okay, anybody else?
Well, when I checked in with shop supervisors, they're always asking me what I'm going to do. That makes sense. Maybe just carry that one step further, and then ask what they're going to do, if they're going to do any special setups that they're going to need help with, and then that way kind of triggers or at least notifies you, puts you on notice that, hey, I'm going to need some directed time on a machine, on a setup, so that the shop supervisor can, okay, well, let's do this first, or let's do it in an hour or something like that, just to kind of get a heads up. So keep an eye on shop operations, and then that way maybe turn the dust collection off to go through the focused setup on a machine safely within earshot, so that you can just kind of like plan operations for that day. Not to be, I know it's never nosy what they're asking me. Prime focus is safety. So I think to mention that, and just with the protocols that we have to do and processes, kind of plan the shop time for a user that may need specific setup help.
That's an excellent suggestion. You know, you could explain some of that stuff right at the beginning, then before the other people show up too. A lot of times they tell you that right away.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions or concerns we should talk about before we proceed?
There was a thing in chat about whether the schedule will remain the same.
Whether the what?
The schedule will remain the same. There's number of shifts, I presume, is what's.
Yes. If we're able to staff all the shifts, we plan on keeping them the same. If that turns out to be a problem, then we'll reduce them. But so far, it looks to me like we're going to have adequate shift supervisors to be able to maintain our current schedules. Okay. John, do you have any other suggestions or things for us that we should be aware of? Nothing else? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I just got to tell you how much I appreciate what you do and your commitment to the shop and to our membership. It was fun talking with you guys this week, and I found that we all have that one thing in common. We do enjoy helping people with the woodworking and be a part of those projects and seeing what other people are doing. That's the other thing I heard frequently. A couple, three of you mentioned to me that you were losing some of your inspiration because you weren't seeing what other people were doing on their projects. So very interesting. We've got a few items I'm going to cover with when Sharon gets back. I think she's going to be able to join us here in a few minutes. But the one thing she will touch on, and I'll touch on now, is shift supervisor coverage. If you're not going to be able to cover a shift, we ask that you try and find your replacement first rather than just go directly to her. I've sent out the list of contacts to everybody. I asked you to update your contact information, give me any changes you might have. Please do that. And I will send out a revised listing, and hang on to that so you have those numbers. You don't need to call Sharon or I or Rick or someone else and ask for phone numbers, which is the other thing that frequently is happening. So we ask you to do that first. Sharon is actually, if you're not aware, is actually up in LA taking care of her mother. Her mother's 99 years old, remarkable woman, walks a mile a day, by the way. And she's up there helping her, and she's up there all this month, and she's going to be up all next month. So Sharon's availability is going to be much less than what it would otherwise have been. She's only down here today because she drove down for the day to get a shot and heading back later on today. So I'll just hit that one, that subject, and I'm sure she'll reinforce that when she gets back. Gary, you've got some items. Why don't you go ahead and hit those next, if you would?
Okay, will do. Well, good afternoon again, everyone. It's a pleasure to be included in this meeting. I always enjoy the opportunity to visit with this group and see this group and pick up where Dallas left off. He called me this week, says, well, he says, I talked to 18 shift supervisors. He says, man, am I jazzed. He says, they're excited to come back and they can't wait. And I think everybody's excited. When I announced the reopening at the general meeting the other night, if you were there, you saw some people going like this in the background. And obviously we've all missed it. And it's going to be just great to have the opportunity to get it open again. That being the case, I think it's an appropriate time to refocus a little bit. And, you know, one thing about being closed down, if there's anything good about it, it makes us appreciate what we lost and gives us the opportunity to look forward to having it back again. And so I thought it might be appropriate to just kind of remind everybody of why we opened the shop to begin with. And the whole purpose of having a shop was to try to give us a vehicle to do a better job of helping our members get more enjoyment out of their woodworking through providing a shop, through providing classes and so forth. And obviously we've done that, in my opinion, done it very successfully. But that's why we're here. And I think we just need to keep in mind as we approach our day-to-day responsibilities that that's the underlying focus of what we should be working towards and continuing to work on. And the other thing that, going back to when Pete and Jeff and I used to sit around the table and talk about how we were going to tackle this project when it first came up, that we all three of us felt there's one thing that all three of us felt strongly about and could agree on. And that was that we wanted every member to feel like it was their shop, that they had some ownership in the shop. And I've always tried to reinforce that, and I hope you feel that this is your shop. It's not just my shop. It's not just Dallas's or Travis's shop. It's our shop. Everybody has a stake in this thing, and everybody has the opportunity to play a role in making it better. And that's something I'd really like us to drive home to all of our members this year. I think Dallas came up with a marvelous idea last year when we started the process of requiring new members to commit before they were allowed to buy a membership that they were going to be part of helping run the shop in some way or another. And so now we've got a situation where we've already got a lot of people that have signed on to that. Not all of them are following through yet, and we're going to have to follow up and do some work to massage that a little bit. But I'm convinced that if we can continue to move in that direction, we're going to change the whole complexion of volunteerism, not just in our shop, but just in general. And most importantly, what that's going to do is set us up for a continued future, where, I'm not going to be here all the time. Dallas not going to be here forever. All of you aren't going to be here forever. And we've got to have other people that are willing and able to step up. And the way to do that is to get everybody feeling like they're part of the operation in some way or another, getting involved and starting to do some role in the shop, and then taking on additional responsibilities as they're able and interested in doing. So I bring that up because you, as the shift supervisor, are really the face of the shop to most of our members. They might see me on occasion and Dallas from time to time, but you are really the way they think of the shop. And they take their cues from you. And if you're talking like that and about ownership and about the need to get involved, we're going to see a lot more people move in that direction. So I would encourage you to think about that as we reopen and take a fresh look at the operation of the shop and do what you can to help us move more aggressively in that direction, because that's going to be one of my primary focuses this year. The other thing that I wanted to take just a moment to mention is that for a variety of reasons, I talk quite a bit to other people throughout the country that are involved in other guilds and tool companies and a variety of other associations involved with woodworking. And it always amazes me the differences between our guild and others. And it reminds me of how much we take for granted having our own shop, having a very successful shop and a very successful association, and a very strong leadership group within that association. That is not the case throughout the country. And you may be surprised to learn that some of the guilds have actually closed down during COVID. They've not had a meeting since March, some of them. And as I've talked to the leaders of those associations, I say, well, we haven't been able to meet since March. I say, well, you could meet on Zoom. Well, we thought about it, but our membership, they wouldn't like that. So there's one extreme, and then you've got our extreme on the other, where you've got a president like Travis who looks for into a situation like this for opportunity and finds a new way to generate a whole new level of activity and information and excitement through an entirely new approach and vehicles to running the association, and us in turn the shop. So be aware that we are the envy of the guilds throughout the country. And I'm very proud of that, and you should be proud of it, because you're the ones that are making it happen. And I am just so excited and so optimistic about what lies ahead for this year and beyond, because once we get this COVID thing under at least some level of control, there's all kinds of exciting things that we've got cooking that you're going to have to look forward to, as are the other members. And then a final comment about something Dallas mentioned. I would just like to reiterate that his comment about if you're uncomfortable coming into the shop, please don't hesitate to say so. The fact that we've made the decision to reopen the shop doesn't mean that we think everybody ought to do exactly as we do. If you're just not comfortable, if it's not for you, don't be bashful about saying so, and we'll work around you. We'll work around that. 3 or 4 other quick items I want to touch on. One is holiday gift sale. We're already marching toward the holiday gift sale 2021 with the full expectation it's going to be our best year yet, just because we think we'll have COVID behind us this year. And if we can do as well as we did last year with COVID, we ought to be able to knock it out of the park this year. And we've got a lot of people already working on projects. We are going to start every other Friday Zoom meetings this coming Friday. One of our goals this year, well, the first and most important goal is to replace Doug. Obviously, we need a special projects manager. And again, there is nobody in a better position to spot talent and spot a potential volunteer to handle a responsibility in the shop than those of you that are shift supervisors. So please help me identify somebody that has the potential to take that role over. I'm trying to carry the ball until we do, but obviously I've got other responsibilities I need to tend to, and we do need a special projects manager. So help me with that. The other goal that we have for HGS is to get more members involved this year. And that's, again, where you can play a role. We need your help to talk it up. When you see somebody building something in the shop that you know would sell at the holiday gift sale, mention that to them, that you're going to build a second one of those for the gift sale this year, and just plant the seed. They may not have any interest in doing that, but the more it's talked up by each of you, the more people are going to get interested and think about it. Problem in large part with it is just out of sight, out of mind. So just by you constantly bringing up the holiday gift sale and talking about what's going on, encouraging them to think about joining our Friday Zooms and encouraging them to build something, the more success we're going to have. So please help us promote that. And if you've got any questions on it, let me know. Encourage them to be part of our builds that will start up soon. And if they need plans on something to build or ideas on what to build, send them my direction, and we will help them with that as well. I wanted to talk just for a moment about the garage. If you have not been in the shop, you have not seen what has changed in the garage, but we have finally got that place pretty well straightened out. We took out everything on the inside wall, put up Mark Humphreys and Rick and a couple of other people helped us put racking along that entire wall. We've got all of our stock now up on nice lumber racks, well organized. Every piece is labeled as to what it is. So it's a huge improvement over that mess that we wound up with. Now the challenge, of course, is to keep it that way. And so we've got a new policy on the garage that we want to share with you today and ask you to help us implement. And that is that we'd pretty much like to keep members out of the garage. The only reason they really needed to go in there was to use it for storage, temporary storage of projects. And it's been my observation that what little bit is left in terms of glue ups in the shop is usually left right on one of the assembly tables. So unless there's really a need to move it into the garage to leave it on a temporary storage basis, please just, we're going to put up signs and just keep people out of there altogether. The other thing that members were doing was taking their leftover materials and piling them up in there, which was one of the contributed to the mess that we wound up with in there. So that's no longer going to be an option. People either need to take it with them, throw it in the scrap bin if it'll fit, and if neither one of those work for them, they need to throw it in the dumpster. If there is, if somebody comes in with a quantity of wood that they want to donate, and it looks like something that's usable, have them put it on a bench in the bench room, leave a note to that effect, including their name and phone number. And Dallas and/or I or Rick will take a look at it and decide what the disposition of it is. But we really don't want anybody else putting things into that garage, because that's where we lose control, and then it just winds up right back where it was. And we do need it for storage, and we do need it for access for holiday gift sales supplies and so forth. So let me pause there to see if there's any questions on that policy. Okay, well, I've either put everybody to sleep or I'm done.
Gary, just one question here is, I was wondering, since there's a lot of us wood packing rats among the members, myself included, I was wondering if for people that have leftover pieces from a project or something like that, if it could be that we can have like a box or something where they could put that those pieces there, and then, you know, whoever wants to pick from there can take some, and then if there's some left that are not that no one wants, right? There's pieces are too small, out of shape, or whatever, then we can throw those in the dumpster. But I hate to see wood that many would find useful just being thrown away.
Dallas, I'll let you field that one.
Sounds like a good idea to me, Edward. We can just use the free table like we've been doing before.
That's a good solution. Good idea.
Okay.
Can we have that in the classroom then?
That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
That first bench we use, except when we're teaching, we use that as our free table.
Okay.
Gary?
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Would it be difficult to like make up a poster about the gift sale with a few nice bright photos that we could put up? And that way, if we're talking to somebody about it, we can just direct them to the poster for information and your contact and all that fun stuff.
Done. Good suggestion.
Thank you.
Anything else? The last plea that I have for you is, you know, I write these updates periodically. It's really our primary focus of communication with our members. And I try to make it interesting. The thing that really makes it interesting to them, in my opinion, is seeing photos of what other members are doing. And so again, I ask you, as I have before, when you see somebody building something, please take a second to snap a photo of it and email it to me. And that way we can include it in the update. It's interesting to the other members. It's flattering for the member who you took the picture of, and try to include them in the picture, by the way. And I'll be happy to include it. And it's just a win-win-win situation. And my final comment is thank you again for all that you do. We so appreciate it. And let's have a lot of fun in 2021. Dallas, back to you.
Great. Thank you, Gary. And welcome back, Sharon. How was your shot? Still on mute.
Quick turnaround, though. My mom's shot is tomorrow morning, so I have to get back up there to get her taken care of.
Well, good deal. Good deal. So glad that's happening. Sharon, since you're back in here, how about if you share with us some of the items you wanted to discuss?
Let me get my list. I'm not sure what's already been discussed.
I held back on, I talked about the contact information and about finding the replacements. But right. If you want to get that again, you could.
And I'm looking, I need somebody for February 10th and 24th, Wednesdays from 3 to 7 p.m. If anybody is bored enough, they want to do extra shifts, let me know. For those of you who our sponsors, there's a new safety exam, which is in the sponsor book binder. So I don't know if you already talked about that.
I did not talk about that. I held back on it until you got here.
Oh, okay. So there's a new safety exam and a new answer sheet. And you may have somebody who has a hybrid of the old one and the new one, in which case just do the best you can. But both the old one and the new one are in that binder.
For those of you who are doing the safety exam and do the correcting of it, you know there's some questions in there that don't make a lot of sense, and they kind of have, we have 2 or 3 questions that everybody missed because it's double negatives, and it's just confusing questions. Sharon has cleaned those up. We're still doing questions on the bench grinder and the handheld belt sander, of which neither we have. So we've taken those out.
Right. And has Nancy talked about the new badges yet?
She's coming up.
Oh, okay. Then I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Hey, Alice, before you move on, do we actually have a safety director?
Well, John and Brenda have been our advisors, but we don't have someone who's actually leading the whole effort by itself, you know, not since Mike left.
Right.
Are you volunteering?
No, but it triggered me when Sharon was talking about a new safety exam. I wondered, so you guys sort of did that collaboratively and updated things, fixed errors, and so forth.
Like so many things, Sharon stepped in the breach and worked with Palmer's and some others who were doing it, and got that done. But no, we don't have somebody who's owning the overall safety program as of right now. That's a hole we need to fill.
Okay.
Okay. Travis, you have a few things for us?
Sure, I've got one thing. First, I thought that whether it was deliberate or inadvertent, Gary's Let's Have Fun in 2021 might be a great branding for this year. I thought that sounded pretty darn good. Also, we heard from folks about things that they missed. And, you know, as much as I love postage stamp-sized versions of each of you, not being together physically in the shop and just talking and doing things, I mean, that's one of the things I miss, because community is a really big deal with me. One of the things that I've been trying to do with community is start special interest groups. And even in the context of COVID, we've been pretty successful. We have a few that do pretty well, like the laser, the CNC, the design, the hand tools. Those things have got nice communities, meeting regularly, et cetera. Some have fallen on their face though. I tried to do one with epoxy, and that went basically nowhere. But with the advent of the new jet lathes and all the training that Larry has done in the past several months, we actually have a nascent community of turners now. And frankly, that includes me. A few years ago, I couldn't have distinguished a lathe from a drill, but I've actually kind of taken to it and have been working towards getting a community together that might then start a special interest group. When I was just in the early days of the shop, if you guys remember, back in the corner is where lasers and CNCs and lathes were sort of duking it out for floor space. And we had this big blue CNC at the time, and we got rid of that. I'll come back to that in just a minute, but suffice to say that right now, in the process of trying to start up a special interest group around lathes, I've been talking with people, and this notion about safety with the Powermatic kept coming up. I haven't personally done any turning on the Powermatic, but let me just share with you some of the things that have come up. Like for instance, the tailstock just doesn't slide smoothly across the bed. It stutters, it gets caught. The hand crank on the tailstock to push the center forward gets stuck. you don't know as a consequence whether or not you've secured your workpiece well or not. There is no safety shield. Things that large can often have a cage or something that is a shield to protect you in the event that the stock comes loose and goes flying. And the motor on that thing, it goes from off to on. There's no slow ramp. So if you don't have your good piece there, it's nicely secured, you know, you could end up in trouble. And the list actually goes on and on. Like for instance, there's no headstock lock. There's no speed indicator, so you don't know exactly where you are. And the reason I bring up all these things is that for me, safety is such a huge deal. And here we brought in all of these new turners, and then they're using the little jets, which is great. But when you get to the point of wanting to try the Powermatic, it's not by default a very safe tool, even if you know turning well. So let me go back to my story about that large CNC that we had at the outset of the shop. I mean, anybody who really knew that CNC could get stuff done on it. There wouldn't have been an issue. But to make it safe and to teach enough people how to use it safely would have been a big effort. So instead what we did was we sold it, and we used the proceeds to buy 2 CNCs that would end up growing our community, building a skill set, and then eventually someday we might get something bigger. The notion of safety is one of the things I wanted to just run by you folks for feedback. And the second thing I wanted to run by you was that in the event that we should decide to get a new CNC to replace the Powermatic, we have a model that we've done before. Pardon?
It's not a new CNC, it's a new lathe.
Oh, well, you know where my heart lies, though. Come on, Mary. A new lathe. Someday we'll have a new CNC, but we not only have the model of what we've done before, we also have several people willing to step forward and help with the funding on that. So I guess to begin with, I just wanted to toss out there the fact that my impression based on a variety of conversations is that if we want to run a safe lathe shop, our largest lathe may be something that could be tweaked into usable form or might not be. But if we did invest in something new, we could make sure that it was safe. And so all of our nascent turners could actually then move in the direction of doing larger pieces and working safely with a larger lathe. Any of you who have experience with the Powermatic, do you have any comments on some of the things I talked about? A lot of turners in this audience, are there?
Just me, I think.
Okay. So Mary, do you have any impressions? So if there are things that you hear, please share them with me. I think that what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead with getting this special interest group started. We're going to pull from a list of all the people who were previously certified before we relaunched the turning program, all the people who have become certified, try to get the word out into the general audience that we're going to start this thing up. A lot of it in the beginning will be just how the whole shop's turning capabilities have been improved so that everybody knows what's available, what's changing, new policies, etc. But also we'll have a show and tell. And if there's enough interest, which of course I always hope that there are because I love communities coming together around topics of shared interest, then we would make it an ongoing topic. Part of what we would talk to them about would be the Powermatic. And if we could get a notion of people wanting to use it, and we have the kinds of funding that people are already volunteering, we might want to move ahead with that program. And I wanted to run it by you folks, solicit your input, and just give you a heads up that that may be the direction that we end up going. Anyhow, any questions about this?
Travis, if I could add a couple of things as background. I tend to agree with what you have said about some of the concerns about that lathe. From the very beginning, when we acquired it, it was big. It was intimidating to many people. And we never had a special interest group around turning. So we never had someone who was kind of the father or mother of that machine group. let alone that particular monster of a lathe. And so, in fact, it sat for a long time and wasn't used. Then we discovered we had some issues. We put some money into the electrical part of it, and we got it up and running. But I do think that it's encouraging to hear what you said, that there is a nascent sort of Turner's special interest group growing. And I think that once that coalesces and becomes real, what you ought to do is really try, not you, but them, ought to try to figure out what the specs would be for a new lathe. Maybe it's not quite as big as this one. Maybe it's something different. I don't know. I'm not a Turner, so I don't really know. But I think you do want something for people to graduate into within the shop, which would, you know, something that's exactly what you said, that's safe, that transitions naturally, and that allows people to do bigger work, but safely and with well understood procedures. So I'm kind of in agreement with you.
Cool. One of the things that we have, which I don't know, I've really enjoyed it. Again, I'm only a turner as of maybe a year ago, but I've joined the San Diego Wood Turners. I'm part of the American Association of Wood Turners. I take classes all the time. It's a lot of fun, but my point is we have a lot of expertise in San Diego County. I mean, the people who are part of the San Diego Wood Turners, they are deep into this. They have a lot of expertise, and it's very easy to lean on them for input. We have one of our most prestigious members right here. She's actually got a backdrop which is overlit, so we can't really see her face, but there's a little name down there that says Russo, okay? And she's one of those people who comes from that community and has an awful lot to offer. So I take your point, Pete. We need the expertise to help us make the right selection, but boy, are we knee deep in it when it comes to the San Diego Wood Turners. They're a great bunch.
Yep.
Dallas, sorry, go ahead.
Wasn't there a guy who came from Maker Place that was big into the Powermatic, the guy that donated the CBN wheels for the slow speed grinder? Or wasn't he going to kind of take that over? Did he go away? Or
he donated those, but he's not the one to maintain anything. So,
okay. So Dallas, I just wanted to surface this, make sure that the team knew about these ideas, to solicit additional feedback if anybody had opinions or experiences, and to let people know what the roadmap we're trying to bring to fruition would be. If we can't make this one safe, then we need to do something that will make a large lathe safe in our environment. And one of the things that I remember early on, because the lathes were always next to the lasers and CNCs in the early days, and so I talked to people about Powermatic. One of the things was, I didn't even think about being a guy who's 6'2". That thing's so tall that a lot of our shop can't even use it because you can't get the right body positioning. And if you stand on a platform to use it, then it's unsafe, because if you approach the edges of that platform, as you move your body to do turning, you could fall and hurt. There are a lot of potential gotchas with that particular lathe, and I just think we need to sort of rethink it from the start. And if it ends up that that's the way we go, we have a model and some funding to help us get there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Travis. I'm going to jump over my agenda just a second, just to stay with the lathes for just a second. We have been doing a lot of investment of time and energy into the lathes, and some money. We have, Rick's team has built drawers and built in underneath the Rikon some real nice organizational places for all the chucks and components that go with the tools. We've got the new lathes that Gary was able to convince Jet to donate to us. We've got those 4 new jets, and now we have those mounted and stored out under the assembly table. Once again, I think that was one of Rick's teams, but I think it was Tom Coughlin who built shelves and got that out there. You'll find it to be really nice. Rick's going to take a little tour of the shop here in a little bit. We'll show you that in a second. But the one thing I wanted to tell you about is we're changing the lathe certification and process. We're getting new badges, which Nancy will be showing you here in a few minutes. But the old lathe certifications are now obsolete, and we're requiring everybody to recertify. Mary and some of the crew, but primarily Mary, has led the effort to create a new host. We'll call it host, a lathe host, where there's a written test for the lathe certification and a practical test that's required. And Mary, can you want to take just a minute, just kind of explain that?
Sure. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Yes, so we wrote up safety guidelines for lathe use in the shop, and I posted those on the bulletin board out there in the lathe area, and they should also be, I think, online by now. Is that correct, Dallas?
I believe they are, yes.
Yeah. And then just like for a new member, there's a written test that has to be taken and then reviewed with somebody who's going to do the host test. And we have the host certifications broken down into two sections. So if you've only taken classes and done spindle turning, then you can get certified just to do spindle turning. And then once you've taken bowl class and gotten comfortable doing the things necessary to make bowls, you can get certified. And so we have two stickers, and one says spindle and the other one says bowl, I believe, for the new badges. But on the old badges, I'm putting them on the old badges now also until we replace badges or whatever we do.
Right.
So as of right now, during the downtime, I've done a few lathe certifications and put stickers on a few badges. And then a group of us went through together, Doug, myself, a few of us, I can't remember everybody's name right now, went through and went through the whole process of certification and, you know, troubleshoot it, shot it, and decided, you know, what we wanted to include. So that's all in place now. I guess if anybody wants to be certified on the lathe, Sharon is having them contact me. And for right now, I'm doing it. I hope to get a couple more people on board with doing sponsorship and lathe certifications as well.
Wasn't it also Bob Hacker and Mike Reedy?
Mike Reedy, yes. Bob Hacker, he didn't really want to be part of the certification process, but he got certified.
Okay.
And his big thing is he likes the big lathe because he's always turning really big salad bowls. So he needs a big lathe.
He's one of the most noisy about that. And he's the one who knows what he'd like to see in the lathe that I don't know about.
Yeah. Well, I like the Powermatic. I think it's one of the top of the lines. It's got a lot of new safety features on it. There's other lathes that are almost as big, but the Powermatic is about the biggest one out there.
Yeah. And I will tell you that, and I don't think that, Travis, if it was Bob Hacker who's talking to you about the tailstock and the problem with with that, we have a machinist in our group who also worked on that during our downtime, and I think he's got that pretty well cleaned up, the problems with the tailstock. He's also a turner.
Yeah, he was actually one of 3 people to bring that up. Various aspects of the tailstock itself in terms of the crank and locks and things like that. But I did hear from one person that the bed was apparently worked on to be smooth, and so travel is maybe a little bit better. Again, I haven't got firsthand experience with it.
You know, they wouldn't know what it is because they haven't seen it. The shop's been closed since it's been worked on.
Got it.
It was done while the shop was closed. The other issues are still there, though. I mean, the speed of the motor, there's no electronic control. The shields are not there. It doesn't have all the features of the new one. But we did do the repair work on the tailstock. So, Rick, you want to take just a second and show a picture of of the lathe? Are you over in the lathe area now? No, you're not. I can see you're in the classroom. Okay. Well, Rick's going to take a little tour and just show you some of the things that have been done while we were out. But in the meantime, Nancy, you want to talk about the new badges? We're waiting for Rick to go over there.
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to hold it up to my camera, so hopefully you can see. Okay. So what it'll be, I've made them for people who have renewed in January. So I'm going to replace their old ones with these. We'll have one color for each of regular host, CNC laser, 3D printer, and then the 2 stickers that Mary was talking about with lathe. The colors won't matter because we're just going to kind of use whatever color is there. So it's if they have a sticker or not. If they've done host for everything, they have a sticker there and so on and so forth. I'm going to replace everybody's badge as they renew this year. So if you renew in January like I do, then I'm going to get one pretty soon. And I'm going to email everybody that I give a new badge to. If there's any errors or anything, I can correct it. I'm just transferring what's on their current badge to the new one. So that's it.
The other thing is you're replacing those, Nancy. If you'd ask them what name they'd like to have on there.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
You have the Michaels and the Mikes, and you have other people who have other names that they would like to have other than what they registered in the shop as. So you'll see some of them are crossed through the name that we have on there, and they've gone from Peter to Pete or whatever it might be.
Yeah, gotcha.
And Nancy, can we infer from the sample that you showed us that you're not certified in anything?
I don't have the stickers yet because they're at the shop.
Okay.
One of the other things that currently contained in the current batch is the emergency contact information in the back.
Yeah,
everybody has to fill them out again.
I just transfer it from what's on the old one. So, but I will ask you to look at it just to make sure it's right when you see it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, did you have something else that you wanted to raise?
Well, I wanted to talk to the supervisors a little bit about, I didn't know if you wanted Rick to show the drawers first or if you wanted me to talk to about how to handle that with clients that want to use the lathe.
Why don't you go ahead and finish that up and then we'll go to Rick.
Okay.
I forgot about that piece of it, Mary. Thank you.
It's not a problem. So one of the things with the safety guidelines is we have decided that anybody turning on a lathe has to wear a safety shield, not just safety glasses. So we have purchased 4 safety shields and they are in the cabinet under the Ricon. And I also put in there some rags and some Windex or something that can be used to clean them after use. And then we're keeping them like inside of plastic bags so that they'll stay clean. And then what we have now is a drawer for every single lathe. So there's a drawer labeled Powermatic and a drawer labeled Ricon, and then there's 4 jets, jet 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if somebody's coming in on your shift to use one of the jets, you can open one drawer that says jet, either 1 through 4. They're all the same, doesn't matter. But all the equipment that they should need for basic turning on that machine is in that drawer. In the drawer, I also put a 3x5 card with a list of everything that's in that drawer. But the client needs to come to you to get it unlocked. The key is on the key ring. And then at the end of the shift, we need to review to make sure everything got put back in the drawer, and then you need to relock the drawer at the end of the shift when the person...
I'll give them a tour now.
And here's the tour.
Okay, Rick.
The shields and safety shields are in here.
We're not seeing you, Rick.
You can only see the ceiling.
Look at Rick's iPhone. Rick's iPhone.
Oh, down the, you got to look at another spot, not where his voice is coming from.
No, but please spotlight that if you can. That way we can just watch what he's showing us.
And then here's the one typical drawer. There's the list And you know, like this one's
top
on jet 1, jet 2, you know, etc.
And then on the far right, the cabinet, that door has the face shields and it's not locked. And paper towels and Windex for cleaning them.
And they're all in bags so that we keep the dust out of them and keep them clean.
And the top 2 drawers that are unlabeled, those are just accessories and extra items that could be used while using the lathe. I'm still waiting, I think, for a mallet and a awl to be mounted somewhere on the wall over there.
Yeah, that's on the list. We haven't got it done.
Yeah, I know. Those two items, if they're just out in the open, would be nice.
Well, we're looking for the turners to make the mallet for us. So we don't have to buy them.
You mean we don't have enough mallets?
I was also thinking it's a shame we don't have a digital tools group that could make labels for those drawers.
It's in process, Gary, in process.
No. Jim Sikora is going to be the nameplate maker, and then we'll get them up, and we'll get that done.
And just to give credit where credit is due, we had Rob Sandstrom make an entire large batch of them previously.
Yeah.
My congratulations to everybody involved. That is really a professional way to handle those tools. That just is outstanding.
So for the supervisors, as part of the host for using the lathe, the members have to demonstrate that they know how to sharpen a spindle gouge, a spindle roughing gouge, and a bowl gouge using our CBN wheels and the one-way jig. So they should be versed in how to use that equipment, which is over on the counter next to the bandsaws. And then here he's showing you where the 4 jets are stored now.
Yeah, they're under the...
There's 4 places that have been set up for the jets. So on top of this table, you can see the holes that were drilled. 2 jets go on top of this table. So for shorter turners, they would set up their jet on this table. And then the 2 workbenches that are behind the CNC and over by the paramedic, there's setups, holes made for the jet blades to go there. So taller turners can put the jets up there. Are there any questions about the lathes and the equipment for the lathes?
Yeah, I have a question, Mary. When you sign up for a shift, is this separate from regular shop numbers, or is it combined with, like, you know, laser and CNC have their own slots?
Right now, they do not.
Okay.
We do not have any separate. So it's part of, I know it's hard, a little hard when the CNC person's there and there's somebody working on a lathe.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they are one of the 3 people that would be in the shop now.
Okay. Good.
I think if we do end up getting a new Powermatic or a new large lathe, I would like to see that maybe independently reserved, but Travis and Dallas, and we can discuss that later.
We have particularly Bob Hacker wants to see that as a separate thing. That's a huge punch pass issue, but I see the need.
He's the only one. I mean, if he comes in, he only wants to use the large lathe. So that's why he wants to be able to reserve it individually.
Right.
Hey, Mary, just out of curiosity, I mean, some of us use things like Tormek jigs for the sharpening of our gouges, and we have Wolverine in the shop. So how would someone normally learn to use our sharpening system in the shop if they've got something else that they normally use?
So Larry teaches it in his classes that he teaches at the shop. So they learn that process at the shop in the shop classes. If they haven't used that system prior, then we go through it as part of the host because they have to demonstrate that in their hands-on safety tests.
Great answer. Thank you very much.
So if they haven't done it before, then we'll show them and then we'll have them do it.
Got it.
It's also going to be a subject of one of the first SIG meetings.
It is?
Registered. Got it. Okay.
I'm hoping. Well, Larry has made some videos, and I know the first one I saw was him sharpening a spindle gouge, I believe. So hopefully we're going to have some videos that are going to be accessible to members to review those processes.
Okay. Rick's showed us the lathe area, and he's going to show you some of the other things that have been done around the shop. So Rick, turn it over to you.
All right. Around the table saws, we build a set of shelves, and so the sled is set up the different sleds, and then under the other saw, the different miter gauges. So store them here and have people put them back here. Do not, and I'm going to repeat, do not put them here. The vacuum press equipment's here. Dallas, and this area now is cleaned up. It's not a dumping ground. So, just another thing we've done is places to put brooms. There's one storage here, and places to hang them. And there's another one over. We're going to put one back by the lathes. And then there's also one right here. So there's another for brooms and dustpans and foxtails. So if we put them there, so they have a home, we'll have 3 places where brooms have homes. And if we can, then we can always find them. We don't have to hunt for them.
Hey guys, you see some people in the shop. Sharon has been working with the Germains, who are our lead for housekeeping. And we had a whole crew in there today cleaning up the shop and getting it ready for reopening today, for this week. So spick and span.
Mom, yeah, don't turn on.
Making me dizzy.
Okay, we're going to take a tour of the wood shed, the garage. So there's the lumber racks. Here's where the pile of wood was stacked up.
Rick, we need you to keep the laptop nearby so we can hear you.
Okay, we have cart, with various wood sorted. So the idea is to keep this organized. All the wood that's on the rack there is labeled and sorted. We're going to put in some lights in the top here one of these days, a couple lights so it won't be quite as dark. Any questions on that?
Rick, I have kind of a general question about all that wood. I know that we get donations, and for instance, the lumber cycle has provided us with stuff. I know we have uses of them, for instance, in-shop projects, and also we have it for holiday gift sales and other things. But how is all that managed? I mean, who's saying where the wood can appropriately be used, and who says go ahead and tap into what's there?
It would, I don't know, it's probably Gary or you or Dallas. I mean, I don't think there's any magic answer, but it's not general membership use.
If it's for the benefit of the organization or the shop or for a community project, that's what we use it for.
That's a great rule of thumb. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I've got one other thing I want to show. Okay, how do I? In the front of the classroom, about this, some might not. We've installed drawers on both sides to better organize. There are three drawers for that in the.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And so we build a little rack to store saw blades. If they're dull, don't put them on Dallas's desk. Put them in here with blue tape on them. Who works with Dwayne? He's working him into owning the saw blade, be the saw blade owner, type of thing. So let's see what else is on the list. What have I missed, Dallas?
I think you hit everything. We didn't hit the drill or accessories over there, and I think that's it.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. Okay, does everybody have a mental image of where the hand drills and stuff were at before? Put that image in your head.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Very
What
nice.
a change. Woo.
Very cool.
So give you a dollar bill if you can guess out who did this. Guess whose handiwork that is? It's your shop director.
Wow. Thanks, Dallas. That's great.
Makes it easy to find things.
Good practice using the laser there, Dallas.
So yeah, we've been working on some things, so.
Looks great.
Okay, Rick, anything else you'd like to hit?
I don't think so. Well, okay, one other thing. As you see things that need labeling, you want a nameplate or something that it makes sense to you to put the label, send me a note of what it is. And it'll serve an ongoing evolution, but I'll be the gatekeeper to get that done.
The general rule for Rick is any place he sees blue tape, he needs a label.
No, that's not my rule. That's somebody else's.
Hey, Rick, if you would take some quick photos of the areas you just showed us, that'd be a great addition for our next update as kind of a taste of what's to come for the reopening.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that and send them to you.
Idea.
Thank you.
Good. And thanks, Rick, to you and all your teams that have been working on that. You guys have spent the time with the shutdown very productively.
And there's been a lot of the new members, the team, I mean, that did the drawers, virtually, well, Paul helped out a lot, but, most of the rest of them were new members. And it was somewhat of a project, a teaching process. We made a bunch of drawers and they had problems, but again, it turned into, you know, consistency and just all the hallmarks of good woodworking, of being consistent and accurate.
Hey, Dallas, could you take the spotlight off of his phone so we can see him?
See if I can figure out how to do that.
Perhaps the ellipse in the upper right-hand corner of...
That do it? No?
No, Rick just turned off his camera, so we're now seeing Rick's phone as opposed to...
Still spotlighted?
Yeah, it's still spotlighted.
Okay, I'm not so confident on this.
And I wish I remembered better. Sorry, I can't remember exactly where.
How about can I turn it over to you? Maybe you do that for me?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll work on it in the background if you just want to proceed with the agenda. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'll do that while we're going forward. In the meantime, I'd like to see what issues you'd like to raise or any questions, concerns, thoughts you might have. That really completes all the things we had been prepared to talk about. But I'd like to hear what you've got to say.
Hey, Dallas, I just have a quick question for you. I was noticing while Rick was in the shop, I think that I did not see any of the overhead lights out. Have we finally solved all that problem, do you think?
We have.
Okay.
Those new ones did the trick.
Okay.
We haven't lost a one since we changed those all last year.
Yeah. Ron Taylor put all new ballasts in there actually, and then we put a bunch of new lights in, better quality LEDs. So that was good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We bought a bunch of them from either Home Depot or Costco or something. They just didn't last.
No.
And it's a pain to have to get a lift to go up and change lights.
Yep.
So
good.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a quick question, and I'm sorry I have to leave fairly soon. The spindle sander, the sandpaper on those are pretty bad shape. Any way to replace them or renew them or?
Sure. Put it in the log, first of all, but we should also, and that's one that Tom Coughlin keeps up. We have replacement paper in there for them, but if we put it in the log, it's not hard to replace. And that's one of the things we really could show shift supervisors how to do. Not hard at all to do, but be sure and put it in the log, and Tom will get on it, or Rick or I, or one of us who do know how to make the change can do it. But it'd also make a good subject for a future shift supervisor meeting, how to do that. It's very simple to change the sleeves on those spindle sanders. Now, one of the things I will tell you that I'm concerned about is I do see some people in there not cleaning using the rubber cleaning pads on those, and they gum them up, and they're also running it sometimes on surfaces that have glue that's fresh, and that just ruins the paper in no time. So that's one of the things we need as shift supervisors to keep an eye on. But be sure and log that on there if you're not able to change it yourself. We did buy a complete set of replacements, and I've asked Tom just to get some ordered every time that we need them so that we can have good paper on those.
Hey, Dallas, a couple of other questions that came to mind here. Dust collection, a couple of things. Do you think you have a well understood, consistent policy now on, number one, the use of blast gates, and number two, the process of changing the bags?
Well, let me just say the policy is you're not using a tool, you shut off the blast gate. That's just that simple. We'd love to have automated blast gates, and a few of us, Jerry and I and a few others, engineers that can't help ourselves, are looking at some automated ways to do that. Paul's been helping out on that. But Paul's the lead on the dust collectors, and he's been great about changing the bags on the vacs. But Paul, any comments?
I did try and make, for the shop vacs, I did try and make a reusable shop bag, get the sewing machine out, but that really didn't work out very well for filtering out the minute particles. So I think I'm just going to stick with what's designed and use the disposable bags for now. The last couple times I've been in there, the shop hasn't been used a great deal, so dust collection hasn't been an issue. It would be great to automate all the blast gates, but that's still in process, finding the right solution. So what I would like to do is, at least on the list of things to do, if we're going to get another lift in there, is to add a power drop over by the glue up table, because in support of the lathes, when they get put on that table, the power cords put across the floor. It's a perfect trip hazard.
Excellent.
But other than that, things to me seems to be working out okay so far on that. Unless if any problems with the dust collection, put it in the log entry, because I always get notified on that as a tool lead.
Yeah. And Paul really done a great job of keeping those bags clean and making sure we always have supplies with filters and bags to keep those vacuums clear and working effectively. Thank you, Paul, for what you do.
Hey, Dallas.
Yes.
Did we ever formally tell people about the new heads on the CNC that greatly improve the quality in the Z-axis?
I don't know that we've told the shift supervisors about it. I'm not sure how many people are aware of it, but pretty cool.
Yeah, let me just mention real briefly what we did. If there was one issue that people had a problem with where our CNC was concerned, is that occasionally the travel in the vertical direction would be thrown off. And it therefore would damage their workpiece because the 0 setting was at a different level and you get an inconsistent cut. We went ahead and invested in new heads on both of them. Pat went ahead and installed them, and they are just working like champs. And so we have a much more consistent, good quality cut because of this change. And I just personally want to thank you, Dallas, for being supportive of expending the few $100s that it took to do that, because it's a world difference in the quality of our CNC cuts. So thank you.
Well, it's just so much more robust. It's amazing how lightweight it is compared to the old one. We thought we had a nice system before, but when you see what that new one can do, it's amazing. So good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question about dust collection in Shop 3.0. Are we still going to need blast gates?
Are we going to need blast gates in Shop 3.0? Why wouldn't we need blast gates?
Well, if the system's big enough to handle it, it's just kind of wondering if, the wisdom of going through and designing automatic blast gates, if they're going to be OBE in a year or two.
The answer is right now, we don't know the answer to that question.
That'd be quite a dust. That'd be a big upgrade in the dust collector.
Yeah.
We get into shop 3.0, we're going to be spending every nickel we got. So
okay, thanks.
My bet is we're going to be using blast gates for a good while. Okay. Anyone else? Once again, guys, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the shop, and I want to thank you for what you do to make this shop run. It's so many contributions by so many people that are committed to a common cause, and we brought together something I think is very special, and I appreciate what you do to bring this together. We now have a woodworking community and a place for that community to gather. We've got some community standards that we all live by, and one of those standards is going to be safety, particularly as it is safety, but particularly as it relates to the COVID-19 threat that we've got. We keep that in the front of our mind. We make sure that everybody stays with it, and we remind each other. We ask all the members to help help remind others that might get too close or see other things that are unsafe. Let's just do this right. A year from now, I'd like to think we're looking back at this as just kind of an interesting, difficult time that we handled well. And if we take the steps we've done now, I think we're going to be able to do that. So once again, thank you guys. Thank you for taking your afternoon to be with us. And I hope to see you in the shop soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dad.